Welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling when you're on campus and you think, hey, I've got a great idea for an event. Or maybe, this could be so much better. Well, if you've ever wanted to turn those ideas into action but weren't sure where to start, this is for you. Today, we're cracking open the official Leaders Playbook for Dlsmhsi Medical and Health Sciences Institute. Here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the playbook itself. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of getting elected and organized. After that, we'll see how you take an idea and turn it into a real event, figure out how to fund it, and finally, talk about the kind of lasting impact, the legacy, you can create. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the Leaders Playbook. Look, before you can change the game, you gotta know the rules, right? And this is that rule book. It's the framework that helps every student leader on campus succeed. It always starts with that one little thought, doesn't it? That spark of an idea to make student life better. But the big question is, how do you take that spark and turn it into something real, something official that makes a genuine impact? Well, the answer is right here, inside the Omnibus Operations Manual. And yeah, I know, that sounds incredibly formal, maybe even a little intimidating, but honestly, just think of it as your playbook. It lays out everything, all the policies, the procedures, the roles, so you can stop guessing and start leading. Okay, so you're ready to jump in. How do you actually get started? The manual lays out two main paths to leadership. It really just depends on whether you want to represent everybody or if you want to build a team around a specific shared passion. Let's check out both routes. If you're aiming high for the Institutional Student Council, the path is super clear. First, you've got to meet the basic qualifications, like having an 80% general weighted average and good moral character. Then, you submit all the right paperwork. And finally, you get out there and campaign, sharing your vision with students at the meeting day avance before the election. So those are your two big choices. You can run for the Institutional Student Council, the ISC, which is the top governing body for all students. Or, if you've got a more focused interest, you can form a student organization. A group built around a shared passion, whether it's an academic club, an arts group, or an advocacy. And if you do decide to start your own organization, what's that magic number? Just 15. That's it. You don't need some huge movement to get started. All it takes is you and 14 other students who are just as passionate as you are. So you've rallied your crew of 15. Now what? Getting your group officially recognized is a clear 4-step process. You send your application to the Student Leadership and Enrichment Unit. That's the SLU. If they give you the green light, you get probationary status for a semester. Then, to get fully accredited, you just have to prove you're the real deal by pulling off 3 or more major activities. Okay, so you're official, you're accredited, now comes the really fun part. Taking all those ideas you have and actually bringing them to life with events and activities for the whole campus. Now, this is where planning becomes your absolute best friend. The manual sets some really clear deadlines for proposals, and the main takeaway is simple. The farther your event is from campus, the more of a heads up you need to give. For a small on-campus thing, 1 week is fine. But for a local off-campus event, you're going to need 20 days. And all this planning talk naturally leads to a question that comes up all the time for student leaders. What's the deal with paperwork? Specifically, when we need to get a parental consent form, or PCF. The manual actually makes this super easy with this little cheat sheet here. For most things happening on campus, you're good, no form needed. The exceptions are if it runs past 8 p.m., it's on a weekend, or it's going to be physically intense. But, and this is the important part, the second you step off campus for an event, a notarized consent form is an absolute must, every single time, no exceptions. Of course, a great event usually needs some funding, right? So let's talk money. This next part is all about how you manage your resources ethically and transparently. This is the big one, isn't it? Can you actually go out there and get outside companies to sponsor your projects to make them even bigger and better? And the answer is yes. But, and this is a huge but, there are some really important guidelines you have to follow. The rules are there for a very good reason, to protect the integrity of your organization and the institution as a whole. You can absolutely look for monetary support, but take a look at the reasons. See the pattern here? It's all about service.
The funding has to be for initiatives that align with the institution's mission of helping others. Things like charity drives, scholarship programs, or community outreach.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it. Your sponsors have to reflect Dlsmhsi values. The manual couldn't be clearer. Any companies involved with things like alcohol or tobacco, or just engaged in shady practices, are completely off limits. It's all about protecting your group's integrity. All right, let's bring this all home. Because all these rules, all these procedures, they're not just there to be rules. They're about something much, much bigger. They're about the legacy you build as a Dlsmhsian leader. To make sure every single student group has a clear purpose, they're all organized into one of 4 ARM clusters. It's a really cool system. It intentionally links everything your organization does directly to one of the core Dlsmhsian values: faith, service, communion, or reverence for life. So your work always has meaning.
So, in the end, this manual, this whole playbook, it's not about holding you back. It's about setting you up for success. Just like this quote says, it's a guide to help you operate effectively, transparently, and with confidence. It's a tool for empowerment. So we've walked through the whole guide, from getting your team together to funding your big ideas and connecting it all back to core values. But at the end of the day, it's just a playbook. The game is yours to play. The story is yours to write. So what are you going to do with it? What legacy will you leave behind?